denizens of the night. Welcome to another episode of the macabre, the terrifying. Broadcasting live from inside a dark and cramped closet, I will be your guide through the witching hours. Tonight, we'll drop in on Miss B, a second-grade teacher, and one of her pupils, Charlie. Charlie is a good kid with a somewhat difficult home life, but he and his mother manage to hold things together for the most part, until, that is, 1 week in February, when things begin to noticeably change with Charlie, and Miss B is forced to connect the dots and make a plan. But will she be quick enough to help Charlie? And is she prepared for what might be waiting for her at his house? This story is called A Mother's Love and was written by BeeKeeperCamper.
Over the course of my career, I have taught at 3 different schools. One as a student teacher, one teaching 6th grade, and now 2nd grade at what I'll generously call the neediest school in town. Most of my current students, and my students for the last 4 years I've worked here, come from homes with struggling parents. Usually, both parents, that is, if they're lucky enough to have two, work 1 or more low-paying jobs, struggling to put food on their tables and send their kids to school with supplies. I'm no stranger to buying markers to hand out, keeping extra lunches in my desk, and, on more than one occasion, bringing clothes to school from the thrift store to keep my kids warm in the winter. I've found, over the years, that it's best to handle things on a personal level rather than getting government services involved. In the early days of my work, I found that CPS intervention can frequently do more harm than good, and even parents who fail their kids are usually trying their hardest. I hate to see families torn apart, and I know that the foster system is a rough place to live. More than a few of my students have been foster kids, and I wouldn't wish that kind of turmoil on any 7-year-old. Even if the home situation is rough, most parents love their kids. I suppose that's why I took so long to meddle in Charlie's situation. Charlie was a generally well-behaved kid, even though I knew his family was struggling. I got the gist from the parent-teacher conference that only his mother attended, that his mom was a kind lady, a little too young to have a 7-year-old, who worked hard cleaning houses to give her son a good start in life. His father, from what I surmised, was present in body only. Charlie came to school every day scrubbed clean, with hair combed, and his worn-out clothes mended meticulously, despite the fact that he smelled strongly of his father's tobacco. I doubted that his nervous mother, with her neatly braided hair and pressed housekeeper's uniform, was the one smoking enough packs a day to make that skinny boy reek like a line cook. The only time I had to call Charlie's parents, when he missed the bus home one day, the man who answered my call merely barked at me to make him deal with his mistakes, and slammed the line down hard enough to rattle my skull. I ended up walking the boy home that day, and met his mother in the driveway coming home from work. She was grateful I had seen him home safely and quickly ushered him inside. I thought I saw the ghost of a bruise on her cheek, but I couldn't be sure. Either way, I watched Charlie like a hawk since that day, and never saw any marks on his little pale face. Isn't that how it often happens, that the mother takes the blows for her child? I never had any other reason to doubt that Charlie's mother was caring for him well, until he arrived late for the first time, on a Monday in February. He looked disheveled in a way I was used to from some of my other kids, but not from him in particular. I approached him at the beginning of first recess to ask him if everything was all right. "Sorry, Miss B. I had to walk to school this morning. My mom forgot to wake me up and I missed the bus. I'll be on time tomorrow." His little face looked tired, with faint purple circles under his eyes. I assured him that it was all right. I just wanted to check and make sure he was doing okay. He nodded quickly and ran off to join the other kids on the wood chip playground. As he had promised, he was on time to school the rest of the week. Nothing strange occurred until Thursday, when he shyly approached me at the beginning of lunch period. "My mom told me I could ask you if you had any snacks. There isn't any food in my house right now." "Of course. You can always come to me if you're hungry," I replied, making a conscious effort to keep my voice free from pity. "Is everything okay with you and your mom?" "Yeah, we're okay, I think," he answered quietly, focusing on his shoes. He paused a moment before adding, "My dad left last weekend. I don't think he's gonna come back this time." "I'm very sorry to hear that, Charlie." I put what I hoped was a comforting hand on his shoulder. "I'm always here to help you if you need a snack or just somebody to talk to." He nodded solemnly. "Thanks, Miss B. It's okay. My mom just hasn't been able to go to the store this week." He accepted the PB&J I offered and ate with the other kids. I decided I should call home and see if I could offer his mother any help. Hopefully, with her hot-tempered husband out of the picture, she could get back on her feet quickly. I would try to offer all the support I could. My call went to voicemail. "Hi, Mrs. Collins. This is Miss Bell. I spoke to Charlie today, and I got the idea that there might be some changes happening for him at home right now. I just want you to know that I'll be bringing lunch to school for him tomorrow and Monday, and you just let me know if there's anything else I can do to help. Feel free to give me a call back or send a note with Charlie if you'd like. I hope you two are doing well." On Friday at lunch, I gave Charlie a ham sandwich and asked him how his mom was doing. I find that with little boys especially, they're more willing to talk about their troubles if you ask indirectly. "She's all right, I think. I played your voicemail for her, and she said it was very nice of you to call home, but she has things under control." I was confused. "You played my voicemail for your mom?" I asked, keeping my voice light-hearted. "It's pretty cool that she lets you be in charge of the phone." "Yeah, she taught me to use the phone and my own alarm clock." He shrugged. "She said she heard the phone ringing, but she couldn't get to it to call you back." He paused for a moment, thinking about what he wanted to say next. "She's been shut in her room since Dad left." His words made me concerned, but I held my tongue. I've never had a husband leave me, even a deadbeat one, and the kids still looked healthy, even if a bit dirtier and more tired than usual. Besides, he was starting to smell less and less like cigarettes. "All right," I said, leaning back in my desk chair. "Well, your mom knows that if she needs anything, she can let me know." Charlie's words left a pit in my stomach all weekend. I even drove past his house on Saturday, against my better judgment, hoping to see signs that all was well. The lights were on, but I didn't see any sign of the boy or his mother. The only difference from the day I walked him home in November was the lack of beat-up green sedan in the driveway. Whether his mom was working on a Saturday or his piece-of-shit father took the car was anybody's guess. On Monday morning, Charlie arrived on time, wearing the same clothes as Friday, clearly unwashed. My stomach dropped when I saw him. As poor as she was, I knew his mom to be a pristine type of woman who kept her child well-groomed, if threadbare. When I approached Charlie to give him his lunch, I caught a hint of an odd smell, one I didn't recognize. Fading cigarettes, unwashed clothes. I wasn't sure. "Charlie, your mom never lets you come to school without your hair combed." I prodded gently. "She hasn't been checking, so I figured I didn't have to," he said sheepishly. "She told me to, but she didn't come out to look." "Well, you should still make sure you do as your mom says," I replied. I honestly wasn't sure what else to say. I dealt with parents who drank too much, parents who couldn't afford to keep the lights on, and parents who vanished into thin air. But I wasn't sure what exactly to do about a mother who clearly cared but had retreated into some kind of deep depression. My heart ached for the woman, and I wanted badly to speak to her directly. I couldn't keep playing telephone through this innocent boy, who knew exactly how much he understood of the situation anyway. I decided to send a letter home with him that afternoon. I reiterated almost exactly what I said in my initial call home, but added for good measure that I could arrange for Charlie to stay with a friend for a day or two if she needed time to herself, just to get composed. Charlie came in Tuesday morning with his hair combed and his clothes clean but mismatched. He proudly showed me his 2 different socks. "My mom taught me how to do my own laundry last night," he announced to me proudly. "That's great," I exclaimed, offering a high five. "Did you give your mom the note I sent home?" "I did. I put it under her door like you told me to," he beamed. So, she was still hiding away. I worried silently that she might not be going to work either if she wasn't coming out to send her son off to school. "Great job, buddy," I offered another high five. Charlie opted for a hug instead, wrapping his little arms around my neck. I couldn't help but notice, under the scent of detergent, the same smell as yesterday. I prayed that his mom wasn't slipping into a hoarder situation. I dealt with that before, and I didn't look forward to doing it again. Wednesday morning, Charlie looked like he hadn't slept at all. He'd been looking drained all week, but the dark circles on his round face kept compounding until that morning when he looked positively exhausted. I asked him if he'd been sleeping well when I gave him his sandwich. Since I hadn't heard from Mrs. Collins, I kept bringing him lunch every day just in case. "Not really. My mom keeps telling me to sleep in my own bed, but I fell asleep last night after she sang to me in her room." "Oh, did you get to sleep in your mom's bed?" I asked hopefully. "No, I fell asleep on the floor outside her closet." "What were you doing on the floor next to the closet?" I asked nervously. "Well, she sings to me through the closet door. Her voice is real quiet now, so I get close. I guess I fell asleep on accident, 'cause that's where she woke me up this morning." I was speechless. Charlie must have seen the panic flit across my face, because he looked upset suddenly. "It's okay, Miss B, I promise. I'll sleep in my own bed tonight, and I'll sleep better." He sounded desperate. "My mom says I'll be fine. I just have to help her take good care of me." I reassured Charlie and sent him off to recess, but I decided that I would have to talk to his mom in person that day. I couldn't keep trying to deal with this quietly, and I was worried that the situation was getting out of hand quickly. What did he mean through the closet door? I walked Charlie home that afternoon. He was silent for most of the walk, a stark contrast to the other time we'd walked hand in hand together, when he spent the entire time regaling me of the latest Saturday morning cartoons. When we reached his front door, he produced the key on a chain around his little neck and deftly inserted it in the lock, like the experienced latchkey kid he was. It was when he pushed the door open that it hit me. Rot. That was what I had smelled on his sweater this week. It was the smell of roadkill, of a butcher shop dumpster. It was the smell emanating from the little bungalow where I stood on the threshold. Charlie walked right into the house, like he didn't notice the oppressive wall of scent pushing me backwards towards the sidewalk. "Mom!" he called out inside. I held my coat sleeve over my nose and pushed forwards behind him. "Mom! Miss B is here!" Silence. The house was completely silent, save for the buzzing of a single fly in the kitchen. Charlie walked through the living room and the kitchen to the short back hallway. I crept warily behind him. "Mrs. Collins?" I called out hesitantly. I scanned the kitchen for the source of the smell, but saw nothing. "I'm so sorry to intrude. I just wanted to speak to you directly." I labored to breathe through my mouth, the smell becoming more intense as I moved further into the house. "She's in here," Charlie informed me. "But she told me I wasn't allowed to come into the closet with her." "Charlie?" I instructed, my voice wavering. "Will you go outside and sit on the sidewalk for me? I want to talk to your mom for a second, just us grown-ups. Okay?" He hesitated. I smiled at him, trying to hide my fear and my overwhelming disgust. He glanced at me and into the bedroom and back at me again. "All right." He left the room and went back towards the front door, looking back at me several times. I stood in the hallway, doing my best to look cheerful. "Mrs. Collins?" I called out again, taking a deep breath through my mouth. My stomach lurched, and I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand at attention as I crossed the threshold into the bedroom. "Mrs. Collins?" I practically whispered, facing the slatted white doors of the closet. Nothing. The room was silent, save for the rushing of my blood in my ears. I stared into the dark gaps between the wooden slats. I felt as if there were eyes on me, burning as they returned my gaze, but I saw nothing. As quick as I could, I pushed down my terror and whipped open the door. "Are you Miss Bell?" the officer asked. I looked up at him from where I sat on the frozen lawn, my arm around Charlie. I nodded, staring back at my shoes on the edge of the sidewalk. "Yes, I'm the one who called." I heard the rattle of the gurney as the EMTs brought it through the front door. I pressed Charlie's head into my shoulder so he couldn't turn to see. I squeezed my own eyes shut. I had seen enough already. A female officer took Charlie from me and sat him in the back of a squad car. I sat still on the cold grass, feeling the ice slowly melt into my polyester work slacks. "You said you spoke to his mother yesterday evening?" the officer questioned, standing in front of me on the broken concrete squares. No, I said Charlie spoke to his mother yesterday evening. I called the house on Thursday and she didn't pick up. Everything was relayed to me through him. Okay. And when did Charlie say his father took off? Saturday before last. I found out that Monday. I swallowed hard. Silence hung in the air as I watched the red and blue lights bounce off the houses before I spoke again. How long do you think she was in there? The officer let out a long breath through his teeth. The scent of Mrs. Collins still hung in the air with the front door left open. My best guess? 2 weeks? I nodded again, shutting my eyes but quickly opening them again. Every time I closed my eyelids, I saw her there, her eyes wide open and hollow, her mouth agape, her dry fingers wedged in her husband's belt, her flesh peeling wetly off the bone, her feet hovering above the ruined carpet, the remnants of a housekeeper's crisp uniform stained beyond bleaching. The envelope with my handwriting soaking in red and brown. I changed schools that fall. I wasn't sure I could handle another year in that neighborhood, driving so close to Charlie's house every morning and every evening. I didn't think I had the stomach to help other students with their family struggles, having seen what I had seen that winter. I called Charlie's grandmother a few times to see how he settled in with her. 2 states away, I hoped that he was young enough to forget and move on with time. It was better he was far away, where his father wouldn't know to look, if he ever cared to. The police weren't able to find the man, as far as I know, and I pray every day that he's dead in a ditch somewhere. What kind of a man could do that to his wife, and then leave his son alone with the aftermath? It made me sick with rage and sadness. I left another letter for Charlie's mom, this time on her grave. I hope she knows that he's being looked after when she couldn't. God knows she tried her hardest.
Wow! I think this is a great example of what some might call a feels pasta. You may already know the term creepypasta, which refers to the pop horror that was widely circulated in the early days of the internet. That's how Slender Man was born. But a feels pasta is a spin on the genre and refers to a horror story with a strong current of sadness and poignancy in it. In our story tonight, I felt a lot of dread and anxiety leading up to the reveal, but the feeling I was left with at the end wasn't fear. It was a blend of horror and sadness. And I think this one was quite well crafted. The mother in the story haunting her son in order to take care of him is a beautiful, if spooky, idea. And I think it says a lot about the author's idea of how strong parental bonds can be. If you enjoyed this story, please let me know in the comments. This is the author's first story on no sleep, as far as I am aware, so encourage them to keep going. Please also leave a like on this video and subscribe to hear more stories like this one. Whatever you do, try to resolve any loose ends now so you don't have any responsibilities from beyond the grave. And don't fall asleep.